Hi friends, Saira Map. இது ஒரு green social media. இது Facebook மாதிரி ஒரு social media platform. இதுல pictures, videos and voice chat roomலாம் இருக்கு. இதுல account open பண்ணி verify வாங்குற ஒவ்வொரு users பேர்லயும் ஒரு மரக்கன்று நடப்படும். இத sign up பண்ணி account open பண்ணும்போது verification email வரும். அத verification பண்ணா மட்டும் தான் account open ஆகும். நீங்க என்ன user name கொடுக்குறீங்களோ அதை கொடுத்து தான் login பண்ணணும். email address போடக்கூடாது. account open பண்ணி cover photo, profile picture எல்லாம் வச்சு ரெகுலரா ஆக்டிவேட்டா இருந்தா மட்டும் தான் அது verified accountல எடுத்துக்கொள்ளப்படும். அதர் ஆப்ஸ்ல அப்லோட் பண்ணாத வாட்டர்மார்க் இல்லாத ஓன் கண்டென்ட் வீடியோ போட்டு வெரிஃபை வாங்குற யூசர்ஸ்க்கு கிஃப்ட் உண்டு. அது என்ன கிஃப்ட் அப்படிங்கறத அந்த ஆப்ல மெசேஜ் வரும். சாயரா மேப் லிங்க் டிஸ்கிரிப்ஷன்ல இருக்கு, டவுன்லோட் பண்ணிக்கங்க. சாயரா மேப் iOS அண்ட் கூகுள் பிளே ஸ்டோர்லயும் இருக்கு, டவுன்லோட் பண்ணிக்கங்க.
ஊற்று நின்ற பல நூலை பார்த்து பார்த்தே looking at many books with steady stand. உரையா வேதாந்த சித்தாந்தம் என்று unable to say வேதாந்தம் and சித்தாந்தம். பற்றி நின்ற பரவசத்தான் என்றே உன்னி thinking about the attached excitements. பாராமலைந்து கெட்டாரணந்தங்கோடி without looking many millions wandered and gone bad. முற்றி நின்ற இடமெங்கே ஞானமெங்கே, which is the location and where is the wisdom. கொற்றி நின்ற மேல்மூலத்துரியமெங்கே, வேறாத மூலாதாரம் and துரியம். கூடுவார் மெய்ஞானக் குறைவிதாமே, without May wisdom, they gather with the defect. The above stanza is written in paraphrased manner so that the readers could understand the meaning. Those readers who understand them and want to learn and practice the Siddhar tradition of Raja Yoga can approach Brahma Sutra Kuru Padasalai. It is not a place for Bhakti Yoga. Also, it is not a place to learn yoga asanas. The art of yoga is slowly disappearing from practice. Brahma Sutra Kuru Raja Yoga Padasalai is started with the intention of protecting the Siddha tradition of Raja Yoga and give instructions to the spiritual aspirants based on the compositions of the Siddhas. At Brahma Sutra Raja Yoga Padasalai, the spiritual aspirants are made to understand their own experiences by their practice. Once the zeal and a stronger mind are very essential to achieve the objective of realizing God within you. It is the way and tradition of Siddhas to propagate the Siddha tradition of Raja Yoga. Chapter number 8. What is the life of a renunciate? In recent years, the renunciates have become an object of ridicule. There are many people wandering all over the country in the garb of the renunciates without knowing the real meaning of renunciation. It has become the group of people who are unable to help their family from poverty, unable to pay back the loan amount, and the criminals wanted by the law enforcement officers. Renunciation is not an escape route for the people who are unable to take care of their wife and children and just to safeguard their life and body, wear the dress of saffron color, wearing the holy beads and smearing holy ash all over the body, which is meant for renunciates. Renunciation is related to the mind. It is not related to the body. Just by wearing the dress of a renunciate and other paraphernalia and escape to a corner of Himalayan mountains, your mind will always be thinking about family, and then it is not a life of a renunciate. At the same time, someone is living with family. If he has developed a mindset that family, wealth, properties do not belong to him, it is a role given to him as an opportunity to lead a life for helping and providing for the family and others. Only these people are called real renunciates. When someone asked Ramana Mahasaint, who is renunciate? And Ramana Mahasaint replied the following. Losing of individuality, called I, is the real renunciation. Getting rid of ego is the real renunciation. Getting rid of all our thoughts is the renunciation. Tansurig of one's head and wearing saffron clothes is not renunciation. A person may live with a family. If he thinks that he is not a family man, is a real renunciate. At the same time, a person wearing saffron clothes and thinks that he is a renunciate defeats the purpose of renunciation. If someone thinks that by getting rid of something, then I will become a renunciate, defeats the purpose of renunciation. What is the meaning of taking renunciation? Do you think renunciation is leaving your home and wearing saffron-colored clothes? You can go wherever you like. Even if you fly in the sky, you like to take your body along with you. Is it not? Can you leave the thought of yourself called the I and your ego and become a renunciate? Why is your profession and duties of your life come across your spiritual life? For example, your behavior at your home is different from your activities at your office. You will perform your duties at the office without attachment. You will perform the assigned work and duties according to the official procedure, and you're not worried about the loss or profit to the owner of the business. You perform your family duties with affection and attachment, always worried about whether your activities will be beneficial, good to you and your family. At the same time, you can participate in all the activities of your family without getting attached with the realization that only the soul is the real one, like an actor performing a particular act by wearing that particular costume. Some actors really become the part of their act by acting with real feelings. Even then, the actor knows that he is not the character of the act. He is a different person in real life. Similarly, you know that really you are the soul and not this body. Why should you be confused that you are this body when you're enjoying the pleasures of this body through your senses or while copulating with your spouse? Any activity of your body should not move you from the state that you are the soul. This state of staying with the feeling of soul will never interfere, performing all your duties to the satisfaction of everyone concerned. The actor knows the truth of his real life well. This feeling will never interfere in his performance on the stage. Ramana Mahasaint confirms that is the real renunciation. Renunciation must happen by itself. You cannot enforce it. Without getting rid of the I feeling and ego, one should not get into renunciation. Mind must transform. Wearing costumes by the body is not useful to anything. One must try themselves to change their mindset. Only if you try, then you will be supported by the grace of Almighty. The grace of Almighty is always within us, and it does not come from outside. Our mind is attracted towards it by its grace. Because of this, we think that we are interested in it. This grace of Almighty only transforms as the grace of Guru and God. If your mind desires to take up renunciation, you must find out its real desire. Why should you worry about God? We don't know whether God is there or not. However, we know the truth that we exist here. First, we must focus our full attention on the research on who am I? Once we find out who am I, what is that I? Once we become clear about these questions, then we can decide whether renunciation is required or not. In the current affairs of the world, we cannot firmly decide about people by their social behavior. People may project a saintly image for the world by their disguise, but their personal life may be immoral. On the other hand, there are people who may look very simple without any costumes and they pour out wisdom like a swelling mountain stream. Hence, Ramana Mahasaint raises the question about renunciation. Are you going to renounce your body or mind? Today, renunciation has become a safeguard for many people. A renunciate with all the paraphernalia is more dangerous than a criminal. You cannot think and decide to become a renunciate. Without one's knowledge, it must be there, soaking for a very long time, waiting for the right moment, as happened to Pattinattar. Just this one sentence prompted Pattinattar to take up the life of a renunciate in a moment on reading the immortal line, "The needle with broken eye cannot come with you till the end." In Tamil, "Kadatra ஊசியும் வராது காண்கடை தெருவுக்கே." Similarly, Bhadragiri, the king of Ujjain, became the famous renunciate and the disciple of Pattinattar overnight due to the immoral conduct of his wife, the queen of Ujjain. Nowadays, people in the guise of renunciate have a bedtime partner in every city of his visit and stay. Renunciation happens only by the mindset and the effort from the previous births. And we should not think that it is due to the efforts of oneself. In the same way, wisdom is also the effort from the previous births. And one should not think that it is due to the efforts of oneself. We take birth only after all these are decided for us. Chapter number 9. What is the state of a yogi? Persons interested in learning yoga must learn to bridle their mind flowing through the senses towards outside. I am not this body. Solidified thought that I am the form of soul which is inside, and zeal is essential for those embarking on the path of yoga. All of our 5 senses are racing in the speed of horses towards outside to enjoy the pleasures of the world. Buddhi must act as a charioteer with the mind as a bridle to control the senses from going outside. In the chariot of our body, soul, the king is enthroned. The chariot of our body will run to its destruction when our senses, which are the horses, are uncontrolled by the mind, which is the bridle, and our buddhi, which is the charioteer. Soul, the king, will leave our body, the chariot. Everyone embarking on the path of yoga must keep this in mind. To avoid it, one should not allow the senses, which are the horses, to run towards outside for destruction. Buddhi must act as a charioteer with the mind as a bridle to control the senses from going outside. The chariot of our body will reach its destination through yoga. The meaning of yoga is to unite everything. What is that a yogi unites? The body with its senses through the mind as a bridle, preventing the senses from going outside by overcoming the mind. turning the mind towards inside, and this union of the senses, mind and buddhi is yoga. The spider weaves the web using the fluid coming out of its mouth and lies in its web itself. It cannot get out through the string of its web. It thinks that the web is comfortable for it, lives and dies in the web itself. There is a similar story. It is the story about Indran, the king of Devas and the ruler of heaven. Indran was born as a pig due to a curse and rolling in the muddy waters. He lived with his female pig and the little piglets. The pig was thinking that it is the pleasurable life one can spend time like this in a lifetime. Some of his former deputies came to him and looked at his pitiable state and informed him, "Oh Indran, you are the king of Devas. All of us are your subjects and you are our ruler. Why are you rolling in these muddy waters?" The king of Devas, the Indran, replied, "Please do not worry about me. I am living the most pleasurable life. I have a loving wife and children. I am not worried about my heaven or the position as my king of Devas. This is my heaven." The deputies were stunned to hear this from the king of the heaven. Immediately the deputies decided to kill all the pigs, and they carried out them to slaughter. Indran was rolling and weeping for the loss of his wife and children. Finally, they had burst open the body of the pig and released Indran. After coming back into his original form, the ruler of heaven laughed at his pig life. Indran was the ruler of heaven. There is no match for the pig life in the muddy waters. He thought that everyone must become a pig to enjoy like himself. Like the theme of the above story, Saint Avvayar had confirmed that the human birth is the best in the world. We are all thinking that we are all assured of a human birth in our next life. It is the height of our misunderstanding. We take birth according to the effect of our deeds in this life. A person who knows this truth is qualified to embark on the path of yoga. The effect of our deeds is the root cause for our life. The same effect of our deeds leads to pleasures and sorrows. The disciple of yoga understands by his own experience and the grace of his guru that the effect of our deeds is the subtle reason for next birth. In the same way, our life continues without an end. The effect of our deeds is the cause for our rebirth, which comes along from birth to birth. And the effect of rebirth also comes along. We take the body according to the effect of our deeds. For example, sometime we may take an elevated birth like an angel. Other times we may take birth as human beings. Sometime we may end up as a soft herbivore animal or as wild and brutal carnivore animal due to the cause and effect of our deeds. Therefore, one should not dream that they may end up being a human being in the next birth. From our effect of our deeds, we had already experienced a portion of it. We are undergoing another portion of it now. The remaining portion is waiting to deliver its results. The first portion is exhausted. We must undergo the experience of the effect of the second portion. We can attempt to conquer only the future portion waiting for our experience. We must direct all our efforts in this direction. We can conquer them if we are able to take the effects of the deeds to its state of causation. We got into this cage by our desire to take birth in this world. Since we had ourselves got into this cage, we must try to come out of it by ourselves. Hence, from inside the cages, try to get the love of your spouse, children, friends and relatives. You also reciprocate your love to them. However, never forget who you are. The following Pambati, which is Snake Charmer Siddhar, composition reiterates this concept. Tannai arindoluguvar, tannai maraipar. One who knows about themselves will hide it. Tannai ariyadavare, tannai kaatuvar. One who does not know about themselves only will show it. Only you should know about yourself. If you show it to outside world, then you will accumulate the effect of your deeds again. We must know to what level we must raise our thinking and understanding about the cause and effect of our deeds. Realizing the rare opportunity given to us as a human being with a continuous effort to achieve the objective of realizing God is qualified to become the state of a yogi. Only a yogi is qualified to reach the state of knowledge. Chapter number 10. Will solitude speak? Will solitude speak? Had the solitude spoken? Solitude speaks. Mind also speaks. Both are speaking to human beings even today. Mind is speaking. It is just dropping as mere words. The speech of the solitude does not come out in the form of words. When we say I am speaking, it is referring to the speaking of the mind only. In the following sentences, I told, I am telling, will have meaning as long as the object I is projected to the forefront. The moment I vanishes, then the solitude only speaks there. When will I vanish? The moment mind subsides and I become solitude. The words coming out of solitude without the mind are the words of wisdom or knowledge. The words of wisdom become words of the intellect. the words of the intellect become the words of the soul. During solitude, the 4 layers of Andhakaranam, mind, buddhi, ego, which is the ahankaram, and siddham merge into the solitude. We usually be silent when intellect starts speaking. Whenever intellect is speaking, that is the voice of solitude. All the words of the intellect are only the truth, and there are no lies, imagination, and superfluous descriptions. All the words of intelligence are towards realizing God. The words of intellect leads to bliss. It will also lead us to peace. In the peace, we will come to know what is the real I. Whenever the mind speaks, most of the words may not be true. The words mind speaks will contain plenty of imagination. The speech of the mind will lead people into a stupor. The speech of the mind will appear to be truthful and full of pleasures. The mind speaks without the ability to be seen by the eyes and also not visible to our eyes. Whoever listens to the speech of the mind are induced into a stupor, live in that condition of stupor, and finally end up dead without realizing God. Mind always speaks for its selfish needs. The mind will not know even the slightest condition of others, not bothered about the sufferings of others. However, on the sight of others, the mind acts as if it lives only for them and their pleasure. However, on the sight of others, the mind acts as if it lives only for them and their pleasure is its pleasure. All are lies. In whichever body the mind is residing, it will only think about the pleasures and welfare of that body. However, the mind of the listener will be stupefied by the speech of the mind of the person. Mind has the power to stupefy the intelligence of the listener. The speech of the mind will overcome the most powerful advice from the intellect. When the mind is talking aloud, most prominent ideas will be about the comfort of its body and pleasures of its senses. Mind speaks only with the intention of its own welfare. At the same time, when the intellect speaks, it will be only about clear truth without mixing of lies. Intellect is not selfish. Whenever intellect speaks, we can consider it as the speech of God. You can ask how it is possible. When the mind is subdued by itself, then only the Lord of us, the God, speaks. It is confirmed by Siddhar Sivavakiyar in the following composition. Viramanyanam ummule. Speaking Lord Eason, Shiva, and wisdom generated by the speech, both are inside of you. Asayana aivarum alaithalaigal seigarar. Mind is roaming with the desire, using our 5 senses to wander and suffer forever. Asayana aivarai adakkiyor eluthile. Bring desire and 5 senses under control by solitude, single alphabet M. Pesidadu irupiril nadan vandolikume. If you maintain solitude, then the Lord will come and speak to you. What is the intention of the above stanza? The speaking Lord Eason, Shiva, is inside you. The wisdom generated by the speech of the Lord is also inside you. What will speak inside? Only the solitude speaks inside of us. Only that solitude alone could show us the path to attain wisdom and the grace of God. When God speaks in solitude, mind is scared that it will listen to the speech of God and move towards knowledge. To prevent it, our mind uses the desire as a self-defense shield, avoids to look inside towards the path of knowledge, uses the desire through the 5 senses to look towards outside world, to wander and suffer forever. We are unable to hear the voice of God because our mind has gone outside. Mind is roaming with the desire, using our 5 senses. It is possible to bring the wandering mind and its traveling partner, the 5 senses, under control by the solitude single alphabet M. The mind will calm down and reach the state of solitude with the unspeakable single syllable. The Lord in the formless form of Nadam will come and speak to you from inside. It is the intention of the stanza conveyed by Siddhar Sivavakiyar. From the above stanza, we had come to know that solitude will speak and it is speaking. However, due to the noise created by our 5 senses through desires, our ears have become deaf and unable to hear the voice of God. Because of this, God becomes silent. Definitely, solitude will speak to those who bring the desires under control and reduce the noise of their 5 senses. The speech of solitude is the speech of our experience from previous birth and its traces, and there are no lies in it. Speech of the mind will induce stupor, eagerness, and will be an effort to bring comfort to the body. Here, the comfort of the body is taken as the primary focus, and only the speech of the mind echoing the speech of human beings all over this earth. If this echo is heard only by an individual, then there is no problem. Whereas it echoed in everybody's mind, and all of us are leading our daily life by listening to the speech of our mind. By noticing the state of the human beings who listen to the speech of the mind, Siddhas and sages had tried to educate the people with love about the mind, the immoral pleasures of the mind, and wandering of the five senses. People were not ready to listen to their advice. They had become deaf to the loving advice of the revered ones. Because of this, Siddhas and sages had used harsh words and scolded people. It had no effect on people. Siddhas and sages were dejected because their advice is wasted. People are not ready to see by themselves, and they don't come even if you want to show it to them. Siddhas and sages reached places beyond human habitation, like caves in the high mountains, and immersed themselves in their own speech of solitude. Alright, we had chased away the Siddhas and sages to the caves in the high mountains. Now we can live without their disturbance. However, the human mind again started to search for them from forest to forest and mountain to mountain, even today. What is the reason? Has the advice of the Siddhas and sages started working inside the human beings? No, it is not. People started looking for easy ways to come out of their problems. Is there a remedial ritual to perform to get rid of the sufferings? Will it bring wealth? Will I get peace of mind? With these desires, people are wandering and searching for Siddhas and sages in the forests, mountains, and caves. Even if the Siddhas and sages who are in the form of God appear before these people, they immediately ask, "What is the reason for my suffering?" Siddhas and sages are free to answer this question and do not appear before human beings. Only when the human beings realize that they are responsible for their own pleasures and sufferings, on that day the solitude will speak to them from inside. When one receives an answer to the satisfaction of one's mind to the questions arising in their mind, one can realize that their mind is getting quiet inside. If one continues to subdued mind further, then one can bring out the hidden truths from inside. It is the state of yoga. Will the mind become subdued by learning yoga? Even if you learn yoga, you should be careful about the thought that I am learning yoga must not enter inside. One should keep in mind even the very thought that I will realize God by learning yoga, which itself will become an obstacle in the practice of yoga. Hence, we must always keep our mind focused on the spot between eyebrows above the nose to hear the speech of soul from inside. It is the object of solitude and witness in our body. When will solitude speak? How is its energy? Where is the solitude? How and where is this I in our body? Showing the location in the body, experience the nadam in the form of dasanadam, the 10 forms of nadam to be heard during the practice of yoga. Experience the 6 subtle chakras of yoga in our body. Experience the space above these. Solitude is not simply keeping quiet. It is the language for getting rid of this body. In the special Kesari, which is lion, yoga, the king called soul itself becomes your guru to touch and show the place of wordless solitude in our body. Siddhar confirms that it is the speech of the solitude. All these things will be clear within you by the grace of a God-realized Raja Yoga Guru. Everything is filled up within our body itself. People who don't know this think that the solitude means keeping quiet by closing the mouth without any speech. Many people will say that they are under the solitude penance today. What is solitude? People who don't understand about it should know that even all the animals like cow and horses are keeping quiet by closing their mouth most of the time. Can we take that these are also under solitude? One must learn the Siddhar art of yoga in the tradition of Siddhas by following the instructions from a God-realized Raja Yoga Guru. If you learn yoga in this way, Vasi and solitude are both the art of Siddhas. In the language of Siddhars, these are named as Shambhavi and Kesari yogas. Both were created as the ancient arts at the beginning. Plan to learn these tactfully. Solitude yoga is foremost art of all yoga for attaining knowledge. One must have blemishless mind to learn this. After removing the blemishes of the mind, visualization of the intellect through the mind will help to master both the arts. Andam is the space which is not visible to the eyes. To see this, experience it, know it inside our body, and we should not be stupefied inside the mountain referred as the head. We must progress above the head. Are there gurus available for teaching Siddhar tradition Raja Yoga now? Yes, they are available now. Siddhar tradition Raja Yoga instructions are given to the willing spiritual aspirants at Raja Yoga Padasalai, established by Brahma Sutra Kuru, founded by God-realized Guru Brahma Shri Nithyananda Swamigal at his ashramam in Polivakam village on the outskirts of Chennai, Tamil Nadu, India. I have also learnt my Siddhar tradition Raja Yoga instructions from Guru Brahma Shri Nithyananda Swamigal. Siddhas had codified their Raja Yoga instructions in their compositions in the ancient Tamil language so that the imposters are discouraged to promote Siddhar tradition Raja Yoga instructions for earning money and fame. The instructions in the compositions were kept secretly is the reason for not providing explicit explanations for the compositions in this book. Please contact Brahma Sutra Kuru only if you're seriously interested to learn and practice the Siddhar tradition Raja Yoga instructions. It is not the place for learning Bhakti Yoga. People who are wandering with a thirst for money and wealth cannot learn Siddhar tradition Raja Yoga instructions. Only those who lost interest in the pleasures of the world and family and wandering with the question, who am I? Why did I take birth as human being? What is the purpose of giving human birth to me? Who is responsible for it? What is the reason for all these? The Guru is there for the people with these questions all the time in their mind. Our Guru Brahma Shri Nithyananda Swamigal at the Brahma Sutra Kuru Raja Yoga Padasalai. Chapter number 11. Life as activity, death as rest. The human life in this world is to live for some time in this world, experience the pleasures and sufferings through the mind in this world, the human life to experience and know that there is no use in it. Without knowing this, human body is given to us for a purpose. However, the life becomes full of problems for the human beings when they start to think in their mind that they are going to stay in this world permanently. The given human body is not destroyable. The human body is given to us as a benefit. Once the thought of permanency is generated in the mind, human beings become maniacs to somehow enjoy everything and not even afraid of doing the 5 horrendous acts. Whatever may be the method, they try to achieve their ambitions, day and night roaming like a ghost to earn golden wealth. Subjugates others by force and make them servants, becomes the owner, leader, tries to establish a position. Suddenly one day, the Lord of Death comes to them to end their life in this world. So far they had done activities which are inappropriate in nature, accumulated wealth, kith and kin, position and achievements, nothing had come to their aid. Finally, at the time of death, they realize that nothing has come to their rescue. However, it is very late for realization. Hence, they are not able to utilize the thought of realization. Siddhar Sivavakiyar beautifully explains this in the following composition. Neelaveedu kattureer, nedungadavu saathureer. You are building a long house, closing it with high doors. வாழவேணுமென்றலோ மகிழ்ந்திருந்த மாந்தரே. Oh humans, you were happy about living. காலனோசை வந்தபோது கை கலந்து நின்றிடும். You will spread your hands when the Lord of Death brings the palmlet. ஆலமுண்ட கண்டர் பாதம் அம்மை பாதம் உண்மையே. I swear it as the truth on the feet of the Lord, whose neck is blue, by consuming poison to save the world and his consort. In the same tone, Patinathar had advised us in the following compositions. பிறக்கும் பொழுது கொண்டு வந்ததில்லை, பிறந்து மண்மேல். During birth brought nothing, after birth on the earth. இறக்கும் பொழுது கொண்டு போவதில்லை இடைநடுவில். During death cannot take anything with you in between. குறிக்கும் இச்செல்வம் சிவன் தந்ததென்று கொடுக்கறியா. They don't know to give away the wealth given by Lord Shivan. திறக்கும் குலாமருக்கு என் சொல்லுவேன் கச்சி ஏகம்பனே. O Kachi, which is Kanchipuram Egambani, what can I say about people going to die? ஊருன் ஜதமல்ல, உற்றார் சதமல்ல, உற்று பெற்ற. Village is not permanent, relatives are not permanent. Hard earned, பேரன் ஜதமல்ல, பெண்டீர் சதமல்ல, பிள்ளைகளும் ஜீருன் ஜதமல்ல. Name is not permanent, wife is not permanent. Children, செல்வன் ஜதமல்ல தேசத்திலே. And the glory are not permanent, wealth is not permanent in the country. யாருன் ஜதமல்ல, நின்றால் சதங் கச்சி ஏகம்பனே. No one is not permanent. O Kachi Kanjipuram Egambane, only your feet is permanent. மனையாலும் மக்களும் வாழ்வும் தனமும் தன் வாயில் மட்டே. Wife, children, life and wealth are till your doorstep. இனமான சுற்றும் மயானம் மட்டே. வழிக்கேது துணை. Clan and relatives are up to cremation ground. Who will be the companion afterwards? தினையாமளவு எள்ளளவாகிலும் முன்பு செய்த தவம். If you had performed penance previously at least to the extent of the size of a grain, தனையால என்றும் பரலோகம் சித்திக்கும் சத்தியமே. It is a promise that the world of God is definite to rule yourself. Patinathar, with a heart full of benevolence, to uplift the human beings and to open our inner eyes to the reality, gifted the above compositions. Bhadragiri, the former king of Ujjain and the disciple of billionaire turned Siddhar Patinathar, about the effervescent nature of life in the following couplet. நீரில் குமழி போல் நிலையற்ற வாழ்வை விட்டுன். Leave your impermanent life which is like a bubble on the water. பேரல் கருணை வெள்ளம் பெருக்கெடுப்பது எக்காலம். When will the flood of grace swell towards you? Human beings are differentiated by their feelings in this world. For example, Our mind jumps up and down with unbridled happiness when we achieve our success in life. Why the same mind is wilted while facing a failure in life? We become emotionally like this because our mind has a very strong thought that our life is there forever and it is permanent. There is no reason in being happy while we attain success and feeling miserable when we face failure. Hence, neither the pleasure nor the suffering is permanent in this world. Why should we give importance to these emotions? Hence, we must train our mind and its emotions to keep it in a balanced state. Saint Adi Shankara emphasizes this point in one of his compositions, and the following is its meaning. You might have noticed the water droplet on the lotus leaf. It lives an unstable life. Our life is also similar to the droplet on the lotus leaf and is very unstable. He also mentions that this worldly life is being consumed by the disease, luxurious feelings, likes and dislikes. Lord Krishna in Bhagavad Gita confirms that in the life of a human being, taking birth, growing as a child, becoming an adult, and finally dying. These are all routine affairs in the human life. These will happen whether you like it or not. In the same way, the seasons like spring, summer, monsoon, fall, and winter will happen routinely in this world.